affirmation today is, I am filled with the Spirit of God. And indeed, we all have the option to be. Over the next few weeks, we are going to talk about Paul. Our messages are going to revolve around Paul, the writings of Paul. We'll be looking a lot at the book of Acts and the book of Romans. This is very consistent with the fact that this year, Palm Sunday, which is going to be April 1st this year, marks the 85th anniversary of the Angelus Fellowship. When Dr. and Hattie founded the fellowship, their first service was on Palm Sunday back in 1927. So it seems appropriate that Paul, being such a striking figure in the beginning of Christianity as we know it today, and we're about to celebrate the beginning of our fellowship, those two combine, and so we'll talk a lot about that. Our question today is, what tools do I need to lead a happy life? Many of you may know that Paul started out his life. He was directed on a path of greatness. He went to one of the very finest rabbinical schools. He came from a family of wealth and prestige, and that was the path of his life. He was destined to be a prestigious religious leader. Also, there would have been with that great wealth, and because those seem to be the components of happiness, great happiness. And of course, he later in life, before he began his career, he came upon Christ and the teachings of Christ. And it's noted in the Bible that his eye became solely fixed on the teachings of Christ, so that the traditional happiness that he would have known had he gone the way that his family had planned for him veered greatly. However, reading the works of Paul, we see that, in fact, he did have a life of great happiness. He got so much happiness, so much fulfillment out of the works of Christ and following the things that Jesus said and the teachings of Christ, and in sharing those with other people. I have actually one of his writings here that I wanted to share with you. This, I think, is very poignant to what I'm talking about with regard to happiness. And in the book of Romans, we read from Paul that God will give to each person according to what he has done. To those who by persistence in doing good seek glory, honor, and immortality, he will give eternal life. There will be glory, honor, peace, and happiness for everyone who does good. So in that, it seems to me that one of our tools to leading a happy life is doing good works. In our faith, probably one of the most important of these, though, is by claiming our happiness, knowing it internally through our positive thinking, our affirmations, and this is a path to true happiness, that we can all live lives filled with true happiness. Some of you may recall there was a period of time, we used to have a lot of classes where we would review the works of Catherine Ponder, specifically her prosperity book. One of them was about a woman who, as many examples she gave, was having some real challenges with prosperity. And she had met with Catherine, who said to her, you need to go and do something, give something of yourself in order to receive something back. That is the prosperity cycle that we in New Thought believe in. And the woman looked around and realized that she had nothing to give, and she was very exasperated. She wanted these dynamic New Thought principles and the prosperity to come to her, but as she looked around, her cupboards were bare, and she had children that needed clothes, and there was nothing that she could do. And she phoned Catherine Ponder and sort of is pulling her hair out, saying, there's nothing that I can do. Can you help guide and direct me? And Catherine indicated to her that giving an act of kindness is just as important as giving somebody a new sweater or loaning them some cash if they have a problem. So this particular woman went into her garden and cut some flowers and took them down the street to a neighbor who was ill. And of course, as the story continues in Catherine Ponder's book, later that day, a friend who had borrowed money years ago showed up on the doorstep and said, I have this money that I wanted to repay you. And so, of course, the woman was able to go out and get food and feed her children. And it was just really a great example of the dynamic of the prosperity cycle, that you don't necessarily give material things. Kindness, good deeds, a smile, a greeting to a neighbor who possibly is shut in or doesn't get out and about that much. All those things are very important as well. So we as truth students have so many examples of how to find happiness in life, the tools that we need. We have our affirmations. We certainly have a wealth of material. One of the very wonderful things about being these New Thought truth students. So many people have really paved the way for us, and they've written about it, and they've given us a lot of different material to study, to get to this place so that we can understand ourselves how to live this dynamic life through our positive thinking and through being an example to other people of how to live a truly positive and important life. A classic example is yesterday. I don't know, I'm sure we've all gone through the harrowing experience of buying a car, which can be one of the most unnerving things. And the niece of a friend of mine from the Valley came down to Long Beach, and we all went with her so that she'd have the power of a lot of support. And we went to many dealerships, and we found a car that she seemed to have her heart set on. And so we spent hours, we sat around and went through the process because she was going to finance it. And at the very end of all this, the dealership said, well, unfortunately, you're a first-time buyer and there's not enough, the credit isn't right, and so there's just no way we're going to be able to do this deal. And the poor girl was just heartbroken, and I could see that. Unfortunately, something like that can really rob your momentary happiness. And in this process, I had begun a lot of these New Thought thinking principles in my mind. I began thanking God for letting us find her an automobile that she would like and a place that would be able to work with her and work throughout this. Finally, we did end up at one of the last dealerships, and there was this car there which was in about the same price range. So we sat down and went through the deal, and actually nothing changed as far as the down payment or anything. Everything was exactly as had been at the other place. But of course, they approved her, and so finally, these things take hours and hours. So about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, she was able to roll off the lot in her new car, very happy. And we spoke about it later, and she said, actually, this was the better car. So we see that if at first you don't succeed, if you don't find your happiness, be persistent in your path. And we know in our church, the good news is that we can be happy today, we can be happy tomorrow, and we can find happiness in all of our tomorrows because we have all of these tools that we need to lead a happy life. So go out there, lead a happy life, use these tools that are given to you, and if you ever have some concerns about where's my tool or what can I do? I don't have anything to give. Call up all of the pastoral staff of Angelus. I'm always happy to hear from everybody. We're here for you, so give us a call. We can guide and direct you and get you on your path to happiness.